Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is gonna be a short sit-down video talking about how I met my husband and how I met his parents and how he met my dad. So we met back in high school in 9th grade, the first day of 9th grade, but I, mind you, was a church girl. I grew up in a Christian church with my dad my whole life and was always into church, always have been into church. And David was this guy with long curly black hair, super rocker, skinny jeans and a band shirt all the time. I thought he was cute, but my hair was up to my shoulders like it is now, but I have it in a braid. But like how it is now, it was up to my shoulders, and he had long hair like down his back, like to his waist. And I was like, that ain't happening. Like, my dad is gonna kill me if I date somebody like that, you know? Just because of his hair, and I don't know, I feel like my dad would freak out just because he's like really into church and he would expect me to date a church guy. But yeah, so that was us in 9th grade, and I always thought he was cute, but his hair just killed it for me because he had better hair than me, honestly. Like, I think that was the sad part, that his hair was nice and long and curly, and mine was just like, So I think that's what killed it for me, and I was just like, no, it's not happening. And then there was a rumor, it was a really small high school, and there was a rumor that he was like in love with this other girl or whatever, and this other girl was like really girly, really girly. And me in 9th grade, I wouldn't wear makeup except for mascara, and that was it. And I would wear jeans and a t-shirt, like that was it. I wasn't really that complicated, or I wouldn't really get that ready. And so I was like, not happening, right? Like, yeah, I'm not his type. And so yeah, one day though, he came back with short hair, like not super short, but like I think like up to here. But by then my hair was like already like up to here, so it was doable, it was possible. So I was like, ooh, you know, because he cut his hair, and I was like, ahora sí, like there's a chance, like, you know, we can date. And I always thought he was cute anyways. I always thought he had a cute smile, but we just never talked. He had his clique and I had my clique, and our cliques wouldn't really click. So we never talked. I never knew his name. And out of my clique, like, let's just say there was like 5 of us, maybe more, but whatever, let's just say there was 5 of us girls, and I was one of them. There was one friend who knew that I had a crush on David, my husband, and the other friends didn't really know. They knew I had a crush on somebody, but they didn't know who. And one day we were gonna cross paths during passing period, and I was walking towards him and he was walking towards me. Excuse me. So we were gonna cross paths, and I was like, you know, 9th grade. I was 14, 15, I don't know. But I was like, oh my god, he's coming. Like, look at that smile. He's so cute, or whatever. And my friend was like, oh my god. And I was like, oh my god, you know. And my other friends, the chismosas, were like, who? And they wanted to know. And I guess my friend that knew got fed up with them being who. That legit, right when we were like this far away from each other, like we were legit passing each other, she was like, him. And I was just like, oh my god, like she did not. I just kept walking, and I was like, oh my god, she just embarrassed me in front of him, in front of my crush or whatever. So I just kept walking. I was like, I'm gonna keep walking. And so I kept walking, and yeah, I guess he eventually asked my friend like what was that all about, and I guess she gave him my number. I guess we started talking. We talked for a week. He asked me out. I said no. I said no the first time, because I was like, you know what, like, yeah, I think you're cute, but like I don't know who you are. Like, we don't know each other. We need to get to know each other before we can actually date. And then we talked for a week, and I kept throwing it at him like, you know what, you should ask me again, or like, hey, you should ask me again, because he'd be like, Kimberly, you said no to me. And I was like, well, maybe you should ask me again. Ask me again. Ask. Just ask, ask, ask. So he asked me again. And we made it official the next day in school, and we started dating. We took things very slow. We were just really shy, I think. We were just both really nervous around each other. And so we took things slow. We would hold hands. We were getting to know each other. And we didn't actually have our first kiss until we were 3 months together. Like our first kiss until we were 3 months together. That's how shy and nervous we were with one another. And that's how slow we were taking it in the beginning. And everything ended up happening when we were 3 months. So we started holding hands. We had our first kiss, and you know, we made out or whatever. And yeah, like we were just growing closer. We were just stuck to each other, you know. And so after school, he would always wait for his mom, or he would walk me home. And one of those times he had to wait for his mom. And we were kicking it in the front of the high school, and in a place where we were still inside the school, but the gate, you could see where all the cars would come in and out. And so he was waiting to see his mom's truck, but he never saw it. And so we were waiting for his mom to show up or whatever. And you know, we were dating in our honeymoon little phase or whatever. And so we were kissing, we were talking and kissing and talking and kissing, lots of kissing. And there was nobody though. Like it wasn't like we were making a show or anything, because I've never really been very open about doing things like that publicly. But yeah, the school was empty. His mom was like late to pick him up or whatever. And so we were kissing, but he had his back against the fence, away from the fence. He wasn't looking at the fence to check for his mom's truck. And we were just kicking it or whatever. And I noticed that some lady kept coming. She would stare at us, and then she would walk away. And I started to think, that's kind of weird. Like, why is this lady staring at us? Like, what is her problem? Like, give us some privacy. Even though like we weren't, like, by that when I saw her the first time, I stopped making out with him, because I was like, that's weird. Like, why did she do that? And he was like, I didn't see her. And then she came again the second time, and I just kept staring at her like, maybe she thinks she knows me. So I stared at her like, do I know you? Do you know me? And no, she just stared at us. And then she would like look at her hand, and then she would leave. And that was that. And I was like, maybe she's looking for her kid, but her kid is like nowhere to be found or whatever. Little did I know that was David's mom. But yeah. Then she comes around the third time, and I had already told David twice, hey, like, this lady keeps coming and she looks at us and then she leaves. Ya van dos veces. This is the second time I see her. And he misses it. And then he was like, okay, well, tell me when you see her again so I could turn around and I could see who it is. I was like, okay. So we were just hugging, and I was looking at the fence waiting for the lady to come. And then she comes, and then I'm like, look, babe, that's her. And he's like, oh, that's my mom. And then that's when the lady was like, Armandillo, ya vámonos. And I was just like, oh my god, like, that's so embarrassing. This lady just saw us kissing, like, she saw us like hugging each other and being all lovey-dovey with one another. And I was so embarrassed. And he was like, well, come say hi to my mom. And I was like, no, like, you swear, like, she just saw us like here, like, you know, like, and I just stared at her, and I didn't know she was your mom. And I was freaking out, and I was like, I'm sorry. And I felt so nervous and so ashamed. Honestly, because like, that's not the ideal way to meet your mother-in-law, you know. And so we walked out. I walked him out, and I was like, oh, hola, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was you. I didn't know you were his mom. And so yeah, that happened. And he ended up going home or whatever. And then another day, he was walking me to my house because I lived like a block away from the school, not even, like maybe less, like in the corner. And he was walking me to my house, to my apartment, and we had to cross the street from the school to get to the other corner or whatever. And I'm very aware of my surroundings. I have always been very aware of my surroundings, so I'm always looking around, and I'm very observant of other drivers and stuff like that. And so I noticed we were walking to my house, to my apartment, and I noticed that there was a car stopped in the stop sign, and he wasn't moving. He was just staring at me, and I was just like, can I help you? Do you not see that I'm with my boyfriend? Like, can I help you? And so I was getting really frustrated, and I was like, oh my god, why is that guy staring at us? Like, he has staring problems, or what's his problem? And he was like, my boyfriend at that time, David, my husband, was like, who, babe? And then, because he was todo tonto, like wasn't even looking around or nothing, and he was like, who? And I was like, that guy in that truck, like, what's his problem? Why is he staring at me? Why is he looking at me weird? And he was like, oh my god, that's my dad. And I was like, oh my god, like, not again. And I was like, okay, we'll go, bye. leave now. Oh my god, it's so bad. So I ended up walking myself the rest of the way to my house, and his dad picked him up. He got in the car and they left, and I was just like, awkward. And so I was like, you know what, that's not fair. Like, I had to meet your parents in the most awkward way. I think it's only fair for you to meet my dad and have an awkward experience like I did. So I was like, you know what, you're gonna meet my dad. I'm gonna tell my dad that we're dating, and you're gonna meet my dad. And he was like, oh, okay, fine. Didn't really want to because he was nervous, but he was like, okay, fine. And we made a plan. We were like, you know what, let's say that you don't know how to speak Spanish, so that he doesn't tell you embarrassing things, because I know my dad's gonna want to tell you something embarrassing, or he's gonna want to give you like a lecture or something. So let's just say you don't know how to speak Spanish, so that we can get off like the lecture or whatever. And he was like, oh, okay, cool, better for him, right? And so I went home that day. I told my dad, you know what, Dad, I've been dating a guy for 3 months, well, a boy, for 3 months, and I really like him, and I would like for you to meet him because I want you to be involved in my life or whatever. And he was like, okay, pues está bien. And he kind of got upset the fact that I didn't tell him that we had already been dating for 3 months, and I hadn't told him until now. But he was happy to know that I wanted to introduce him to my dad, and have him be a part of it or whatever. So we met up the next day, and I was like, okay, let me take 3 of my homegirls and my boyfriend and me, so that it won't be too awkward. And my homegirls met my dad, and they were like, hola señor, or whatever. And he was like, oh, hola niñas. And then he started telling him like, oh, hola, and ¿cómo estás? And I was like, oh, no habla español, pa, I'm sorry. And he was like, ¿cómo que no habla español? El nopal mero en la frente, right? And I was like, no, pues no habla español. And he was like, okay, pues dile que te cuide, dile que te trate bien, dile esto, dile el otro, dile this and that. And he went off. And I was like, okay, pa, está bien, le digo al rato. And he was like, no, dile ahorita. And I was like, oh my god, like, he understands you, stop. So I was like, oh, okay, pretending to translate what my dad was saying, and David was trying so hard not to laugh. And yeah, so that's how he met my dad. I hope you guys enjoyed this little story time. I think it was embarrassing and awkward, all in the wrong times. But that's how it happened, and that's how it all started.